If you are doing open houses Saturday and Sunday, and you do this 8 times a month, and you have 10, 15 groups coming to your open house, so you're exposing yourself to maybe 100 groups of buyers, chances are you're going to convert one or two, right? It's really comes down to, again, to the math, not so much, well, we can say selling real estate is art, not the science, but I think it's, there's some mathematical certainty that if you do certain activities, you'll get results. So Peter, you've been doing open houses, and you did one of my listings this Sunday. Can you tell us, you're a newer agent as well? I mean, how did it go, and how many people came in, and how many unrepresented buyers you met?
Sure. It was a beautiful house on the interior. The exterior, the house was built in the early 70s, so it reflected that style in Reston. And we had it went very, very well. The owners did a great job of staging the house. We had 10 or 11 groups come through, so probably including agents, 25 people or so. A couple of them were nosy neighbors, and that's fine. And some very serious shoppers, and some folks that are just curious about the market. So a real mix, went very well. And I would say, like a lot of things, the key is preparation. So I don't want to steal any of Art's thunder, but you want to have a sign-in form or sheet to capture people's information. And then obviously you want to be familiar with the house. Get a couple of open house signs out around the neighborhood so people can find it easily. And then, everything is, happiness and light and an upsell. And it's a lot of fun, really.
So 10 people came in, and you did an excellent job, really. Like, you inspired me to do this open house call today, Peter, because Peter sent me such, like, I've been given open house opportunities to agents for a very long time, but this, like how Peter handled it, it was like, ooh, wow, like names, emails, addresses, follow-up. Like, so I was like, man, like I wasn't asking for it. And so Peter, like, kind of over-delivered to me as an agent who gave him an open house opportunity. He's like, man, if I ever have to give, I'm very comfortable giving to Peter again, because I know he's going to, first of all, leave the property, turn off all the lights, close all the doors. He's not going to leave a mess in the house. Then he's going to be very professional. He's going to follow up with me with the feedback, so I know what to tell the sellers, what kind of feedback we got, and what kind of activity level we had, how many people showed up. So those are all, you make my job very easy as an agent who has a listing, right? And if I give it to Catherine, and Catherine left all the lights on, doors are open, the cat escaped and got run over by the bus, and like there's like, it can be a lot of drama that can be all avoided, right? So just by being very professional and doing just simple things that I would think it's a simple thing to close the doors, turn off the lights, and give some kind of report to the listing agent. Here's the activity level that we have. But again, you're not doing this open house, you're not doing any favors to me by holding it open. Like, I'm giving a favor to an agent to hold an open house, because the open house is an opportunity for you to build business. Like, in my first year in business, I did 33% of my business through open houses, and it was 14 total transactions. Out of them, I think four came from an open house. So I did $185,000 in commission. 30% of that, you did the math, 54 or so thousand in commissions from open houses. Now, as Peter said, you have to have registration forms, you have to have directional signs. There's a little bit details that we can go into. How do you do the effective open house? Now, what script do you use, Peter, at the open house? If someone comes in, let's pretend I am a potential buyer who's just knock on the door, like I want to get inside. So how do you greet me, and what kind of script do you use, if you use any?
Sure. So for the new agents, there are a wealth of scripts in Command, and I strongly suggest you review them. They can be overwhelming because there are so many, but you can sift through them. So to start, good morning, welcome. Please come in. My name is Peter Engel, and I'd love to show you the house. Can you tell me a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah, we actually just started looking, and we saw the directional sign saying open house, and it also popped up on our app that there's an open house. So we're kind of in early stages.
Well, good. You picked a great place to start. One of the owners is an architect, and I think you'll see that aesthetic throughout the house. They've done a beautiful job, and there are, as you saw on the listing, many upgrades. So I'll point out a couple of features for you. I'm not going to shadow you through the house. I don't believe in that, but I'm here if you have any questions, and let's take a couple of minutes to chat before you leave. Before you get started, just two things. One is a safety thing. If I could ask you to take your shoes off and leave them by the door, I'd appreciate it for COVID. And the other one is actually a little safety related as well. If I could ask you to sign in and leave your contact information, so if there are any issues, we can follow up with you. So please enjoy the house, and let me know if you have any questions.
Oh, I love it. Wow, actually, I never thought of it. During COVID, you can actually force them to sign in, and without coming up with different strategies on how to convince them to surrender phone number and email. Wow, this is powerful, Peter. Where'd you get that?
I have, this isn't the book, but I have a ton of the hard copy Keller Williams scripts. And they're, like I said, it's pretty intimidating to get started, but there are a ton of resources. So I dug that or adopted it from one of those.
It's interesting because, like, I don't know if this book, how do you segue it so nicely with COVID? Because I'm not sure if it's mentioned in the book, because the book
no,
be printed before, because that really was so clever. Like, it's just leveraging, because some people don't want to sign up, and it's some agents say, hey, well, please sign in, and so why do I need to sign in? If someone was to push back, well, normally people don't. They know this is like what they need to do. You come into someone's house, you need to sign in, and so, but some agents say, hey, well, the owners have requested to register everyone who comes in the house, right? If someone asks. But COVID is a great excuse to say, if I need to follow up with you and contact tracing or whatever, it's really powerful. Now, as far as registration cards, there's a couple ways of doing it. You can actually use old school, or you can do an app on the iPad. I've done both in the past. I'll share the screen quickly with you. Share. And I'll give you the Word document. Just go ahead, put your name on it. Again, so I would print this and cut here in half with scissors, basically, and that creates two registration forms. So you print 10 of these, you cut in half, you got 20, and the most important thing that we always look is to capture name, phone number, email, and then there's other information that is not as important to me. But are you considering purchase townhouse, single family home? How fast? Are you working with a real estate agent? Yes and no. Again, for a lot of times it's going to be say yes and might not have an agent name or might have an agent name. I would still follow up with all those leads who said yes, and because you need to ask them when you do follow-up call, do you have an exclusive buyer agency agreement signed? If they don't, you can actually solicit their business. If they do have a signed agreement, you stay away, because Brad doesn't want to go to jail, and he doesn't want you to get violation of fine. So you cannot solicit anyone who already told you that they have signed buyer agency agreement. Brad is our broker, by the way. So this is like simple thing. Registration card, again, use this or use app. What I found with registration cards, quite often I'm not able to read phone number or email. And sometimes people write it, like scribble it so fast where like it's unreadable. And so I get home excited and I start like sending emails and half of them bounce, right? And so because it's just, I cannot understand what they wrote. Or sometimes you'll be surprised. If you're not watching them sign in, they will put name Barack Obama and email, some Donald Trump at yahoo.com. Like you'll see all kind of stuff, right? So some people don't want to be contacted, so they will come up with fake information. As far as registration card, iPad, I tried iPad. I did that for a little bit of time and I enjoyed it. I think I was capturing better quality information because that way I don't have to worry how it's, if I can read the email because it's all typed up. So I would get better quality information. But then I went back to registration forms. I don't know, it's personal preference. Maybe during COVID, like the sign-up sheet like this is even better. What did you use, Peter?
I used a hard copy sign-up sheet, and just a hack. If there's a slow period when people are in the house, I've always got whitepages.com queued up. So I'll enter their name and address and see what kind of contact information pops up, and I can validate it against the what they put on the sign-in, because people sign up as Donald Duck or whatever. And the other thing is, if you get them to sign in when they come into the house, then you got a chance to review their information and ask them questions or clarify it before they leave.
Mm-hmm. Right. So why are we doing open houses? Like, it's not to sell the house, and I'm very clear about this to the sellers. Like when I go to listing appointments, a lot of agents say, "Oh, my marketing strategy is to do an open house." Well, this is not the marketing strategy. This is like an office hours for us to capture future business. But I tell the sellers, I say, "Look, if you don't mind, we will do open houses for you, and that will allow us to capture some future buyers. And I think it will be a lot more convenient for you, so we can funnel all this traffic in 3 hours on Saturday and 3 hours on Sunday, instead of having 15 showings on Saturday and 15 showings on Sunday." So like, you choose, do you want to be called every 10 minutes and be asked to leave the house, or we do it 1 to 3 or 1 to 4? And for the most part, sellers say, "Yeah, absolutely, let's just do it," right? And so I don't lie them because we doing this to sell the house. I'm telling them that this is we looking to capture some business, and at the same time to help you with scheduling showings. And they love it. It's like, oh, the other agent said that like, this is the marketing plan. Nah, like less than 1% of homes do sell as a result of an open house. So like if someone is beating up their chest, "I'm going to market your house, I'm going to do open houses," you're just not being honest, or you just don't know. You don't track the numbers and statistics. So open houses, ideally you start putting like directional signs in advance. And the idea is that more you put, the better. This is kind of preparation of the open house. There's some challenges now with that. Like Creston keeps collecting your directional signs. And we've had agents who got fines. If anyone has any more intel on that, Peter, do you know? Because I think like Lefkin's got $100 fine. He's behind Kari as he's walking for like. But I think you are allowed to have directional signs on the day of the open house. Is that correct, Peter? Do you know?
I don't know for sure. As it turns out, I didn't have any issues.
Yeah. So it's like during the day, like I'm on HOA board in my community, and most of the HOAs will permit directional signs on the day of the open house because you want to guide the traffic. But the goal is if there's no restriction, you want as many directional signs as possible and as early as possible, ideally 2 or 3 days, had. So you see all the neighbors are noticing it, because you want to get to know as many neighbors as you can, because they might be looking to sell their house and they just are nosy neighbors at the time coming to look at it. So you put as many signs as you can. You post an open house at least 48 hours before, because that will allow it to syndicate to like Zillow, Redfin, to all the different websites. You post it at least about 48 hours in advance. Because if you post it on Sunday morning and open house it on Sunday, it might not syndicate, it might not update fast enough, because not all the feeds are live. And then you put directional signs, and then you go and have fun. You bring your registration form, and you greet people with big smile, and you take a step back when people come in. And if you are allowed to shake hands, now we know not allowed to shake hands, but back in the day when we were allowed to shake hands, we would shake hands and say, hey, my script would be only two type of people show up to the house. One group is nosy neighbors, and another group is buyers looking to buy. Which group do you belong to? And they usually start smiling and laughing. It's like, oh my gosh, no, I'm a nosy neighbor. It's like, okay, that's fine. I do this all the time myself. So you kind of break the ice, and if it's a nosy neighbor, that you want to find out where they live, which property. Oh, 2 houses down on the right. Oh, wonderful. What's her name? You sign in. So because that's someone that you want to be going after, maybe in 6 months or 12 months, depending on the time frame. They might be just nosy, or they might be just checking out houses to see how their house looks like compared to this other house, to determine how much money they can get when they decide to sell. It's really difficult to capture listings at the open house. I'm just giving you a warning. You are more likely to capture buyers, right? So for the most part, the most people attracted to open house will be buyers, right? Looking to buy. Now, a lot of buyers come to open house because they are in kind of a dreaming phase. If they were really they really need a house immediately, they usually have an agent. They drive around in the car. It's snowing, it's raining. They are looking at houses at different times during the day, because they really need the house. In open houses, you'll have some tire kickers. Someone who's like, yeah, it's a nice day out. Let's go look at some open houses. I see people coming from church, they all dressed up, and hey, let's look at some open houses on their way home. And people just enjoy it, right? Looking at houses. And so when buyers, you identified someone who's a buyer, and you ask them, hey, do you happen to work with a real estate agent? Yeah, I do. And I was like, hey, so where's your agent? I can't say. Is he still in bed? Is it too early for your agent? So I start I try to make something funny, break the ice, and I want them to like me. Some people will connect with me, and some people will run away from me. They will run, and they will run fast. And Sydney will attract different people, Calvin will attract different people, and Catherine and Peter. We all will attract different people, and I will repel a lot of people by how I communicate. So I do my best to mirror and match. If they do this, I do this. If they do this, I do the same thing. So I do things to make them feel more comfortable with me. Yet it doesn't always work. They think like, man, I'm some crazy guy mimicking what they're doing. So I let people in, same thing as Peter. You go inside, look around, feel free to ask any questions, and just please don't forget to sign in before you leave, right? So when I look back at all the transactions that I've closed, it has been where I was able to build relationships, some kind of relationship in a few minutes in the house. You don't have a long time especially if you have a busy open house, you have 10, 15 groups coming in and out, but you need to really to connect with them somehow. Just because they're sitting in the house, they're not going to come and say, hey, Calvin, I want to work with you. For the most part, it's going to no. It's a default answer is no, I have an agent. Same thing. I keep telling you, go to Macy's and someone approaches you. Hey, do you guys need help? Some clerk will approach you. You guys say, no, I'm fine. And that's just default response. And then you're looking for the shoes, you want to try them out. You're like, what the hell is this guy? I need him now, right? Where are you? You look around the store, I need size 11 or whatever the size is. Where can I get this shoe, right? So you want to you want to be kind of like, you understand if they said no, it just means maybe it's not a good time at this moment, right? So you let them look at around the house, and then you start having a conversation. I'll give you an example of my very first closed transaction. I was doing open house in the Reston, Peter. That was my first closed deal. And the guy's name, I even remember the name, Justin Molinoaks, comes in, and I'm just sitting, and he comes in. Hey, how are you doing? Art, Keller Williams Realty. Well, thank you for coming to the open house. Look around, ask me questions if you have. And he goes, oh yeah, thank you. I said, hey, do you work with a real estate agent? He goes, yeah, yes, I do. Oh, okay, well, wonderful. Well, welcome. And look around, and I'm here if you need anything. So he goes and checks out the house, comes back, and he looks at the kitchen. And the kitchen was really closed out, like really not much light coming in. And he goes like, do you think this is like a load-bearing wall? Can we take this down? And I started like, I don't think it is. The worst thing we have to do is put a column and like to carry the load. And I started just like, I think we can just, create a little bar, cut it here, open it up, bring a lot more light in it. I started talking to him, and he's like, he stands like this, Art, I told you I have an agent, but actually I don't. I said, wonderful. Now you do. His name is Art, right? Shake the hand. And I said, I'm your agent now. So obviously Justin didn't buy this house. The 99% of people do not buy the house that you're going to meet them at the open house, but he bought something else. A few weeks later, we started like going and, showing different homes. And here's the wonderful news. When you're doing an open house, like remember this, because as new agents, you want to be in this price range where the first-time home buyers are looking. Because if you are doing something in $1.5 million, those people lived in a couple of houses and they used a couple of agents in the past. So they will quickly realize that you are an inexperienced agent. But if you are doing it for the first-time home buyer, anything you say is going to sound so intelligent. It's like, wow, because you have a real estate license, right? You studied and they did not. So you know a lot more than they do. And whatever you say, you're going to be okay, right? My first, I never told him that he was my first. It's like, I was like doing some house flipping in the past. So like, I never discussed that. Oh my gosh, this is my first transaction. But he really wrote me a good testimonial. He enjoyed, but I heavily relied on some people in the office on how to write the offer and how to do this, how to do that. I had no clue. I was clueless at that point. So, all right. So that's kind of a little story about, that was my first transaction. I was like, oh my gosh, I want more of it. So I would go and build relationship with agents who have listings in the office, and they would give me open house opportunities all day long. Every Saturday and Sunday. I would do them Saturday and Sunday. Obviously, it takes a toll on your personal time and family time, because you no longer, because think about it, if you're going there hour before, so you leave your home at 11 or 12, you put directional signs up, you get it ready. And then at the open house at the end, you still have some people come in at 4 o'clock. They want to continue chatting about this house, and before you know it's 5, it literally like might take the whole day. And if you do it Saturday and Sunday, if you have like some sports that you want to watch your kids play, I mean that might be a little bit of conflict. Here goes your freedom as a real estate agent. You really have no freedom. you work the hours that when you want to maybe be having time off. Because there's not much games going on Mondays and Tuesdays, right? Like if you have your kids in sports. All right, so for younger generation, I think that does not apply, right? Kelvin, Sydney, you're like Catherine, you're not thinking about this. That's not a challenge. You can spend Saturdays and Sundays doing open houses. So you meet people at the door, you welcome them, you build rapport, and then the most important thing, I think, is to follow up with them the same night. Right? You want to give them a call the same evening. Not tomorrow, not Monday. A lot of agents do follow-ups on Mondays. I used to do that as well. Like you follow up with everybody on Monday, and quite a few agents don't do follow-up at all. I don't know why they hold this. They must be stupid. Like, why you hold this open house if you're not going after those people? Like, what's the idea? Like, don't you know that the open houses don't sell homes? This is just a platform for you to build your business. So if you sit and spend 4 or 5 hours on Saturday and Sunday, I want to make sure I'm going to plug another hour in to follow up with all those people. So when you capture 10, 15 people, you actually go back to your home office, and you put them in some kind of a database. Well, in Keller Williams, I recommend putting it in Command. If you don't have Command, you put in some kind of spreadsheet or shoebox or Rolodex, it doesn't matter. You just have to create a file for each lead and schedule a follow-up immediately, right? Before I make the call, I'll already schedule the next step on that. Like, so I don't want any leads to drop. Like, I don't want to forget to follow up. And like having those registration cards floating on your desk is not a good system. So you put them in some kind of a reminder system in your database and schedule a follow-up. And obviously, as you do that, you adding them to your drip campaign. So they will start getting your newsletters that you send once a month. And hopefully at some point, they're going to know you as an expert, real estate expert, because you've been dripping on them for so long that they will use it. And if they're not going to use it, if they have an agent, it's fine. They came in, they subscribed, they give you an email address, and you still put them on the drip, and they can always unsubscribe if they're not interested, right? Your email should have the unsubscribe button on the bottom, not your email, but your newsletter. So you capture them, you follow up on same night. And then if you don't get a hold of them, I would call them basically every day until you get a hold of them. And I would go through 10 days. And if in 10 days they don't respond to you, you try texting, try calling different times. And if they don't respond to you, then I would just leave it in the database with a quarterly follow-up. I would still check in with those people. And if you keep calling them for 10 days, chances are they're going to answer. They're like, man, Catherine lost her mind. I stopped at the open house and she keeps calling me every day. Let me just answer the phone and tell her that she's crazy, right? Like, that's what you want to happen. Like, if you just over communicated, like, I've never have anyone call me and say, pick up the phone and say I'm crazy. They probably felt that way, but like, they didn't say that to me. They say, hey, no, we have an agent, and that's we have a signed agreement with someone else. And what happens when you're so persistent and you go after leads like this, like there's no tomorrow, you're going to find some good business, because a lot of people want professionals. And if you are as aggressive as you are on the phone, you're not letting them down. So this is like, wow, this is a fighter. Like, Peter's a fighter. He really fights to get me. I mean, he's going to fight to get me a house in this market. He's not going to stop. Like, if you just made one call and it's like, hi, this is Calvin. You stopped at the open house. I want to get some feedback. Call me. Bye. Right? Like, is anyone going to call Calvin back? No. They're going to say no. Like, Calvin is falling asleep while he's leaving a voicemail. If Calvin say, hey, this is Calvin. We met at the open house a couple hours ago. Just want to follow up with some great news. I actually looked at some homes that are off the market that are coming soon. I'm not sure, guys, if you saw this property. I'd like to share the address. Give me a call as soon as you can, right? You can give some teasers and like be excited about it, right? And your chances will to get callbacks will increase dramatically. And then you do this every day. It's like, man, this guy is crazy, right? He's not going to give up. I need to answer the phone. And so I will tell you, I can't tell you how many times I went through calling. And day number 8, I'm doubting, like, this is, I don't think it's the right thing to do. This is really, like, I made 8 calls. Maybe I should like give up on this lead. And then day number 9, they answer, and I hear the kids scream in the car and say, "Hey, Art, I'm so sorry. I meant to call you. Yeah, you've been calling me every day. I apologize." And it's like, oh my gosh, she's probably going to tell me that she has an agent. She says, no, like, hey, I'd like to sit down with you. You seem to be a good guy and, very persistent. Yeah, let me tell you that. And it's like, I'm just so busy with the kids. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. Like, so I set up a time, and guess what? They call and cancel. I was like, like I get so excited. I thought I'd captured them. They canceled it. And then I call them again and say, I apologize, Art. We are ready. Let's do it. So I met with them in Reston. I remember there was another family, and they ended up buying an $850,000 house in Vienna. And it was like 9 calls. At call number 8, I literally wanted to like delete the file. I was like, no, it's not gonna like, and I just kept going, right? So continue following up, and they can always tell you, just be professional. The people can always tell you that, hey, we have an agent, stop calling me, and that's okay. And if someone tells me like, hey, stop calling me, I told you I have an agent, I'm going to delete their file, and I'm going to move on, right? I'm not going to spend my time or energy. But until they tell me, like, I assume I'm contacting them not on the right time. It's like me going to Macy's and clerk running to me. Like, I need to be there when they need. And I'll give you like just example from a couple of days back. I looked at, I have probably 100 reminders. Let me just open it up to do certain tasks like that I created for myself. And I said, like, I only have a few minutes. Let me just knock out a couple of tasks. The first task was my past client. And I looked at the text, because she engages via text better. And she wasn't responding to my last 2 texts. So like my text was very brief this time. Oh, I think I'm talking to her. She's probably canceled our appointment. Let's see. Yeah, she's rescheduling, but I'm gonna. That's a client that I'm talking about. Let me just show you a good example of what I mean by following up with people. Not sure if you can see it. Well, I'm gonna read it. So in September, I texted, "How are you, Ibtihaj?" No response. This Friday, so like a few months later, saying, "How are you, my friend?" I texted, and she says, "I'm doing fine. How are you doing?" I wrote, "I'm doing awesome." And then she writes, "Strange that you texted me today. I was thinking to put my house on the market in Round Hill." It's like, if I didn't text her, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of agents. Just because someone used you in the past, just because you met them at the open house, doesn't mean they're gonna go. Like, it's your job to be on top of people and over communicate them. So yeah, she just we had a Thursday 9 a.m. scheduled appointment that we rescheduling. Just got a text from her. She must have felt that I'm talking about her. Okay, but so on as far as command, I'm going to show you quickly command. You go back from an open house and go into command, and you create the tasks. Like, I have 103 tasks. Most of them will be quarterly follow-up calls, but you go and basically you complete the tasks, and you create new tasks. You need to be like using some kind of system to remind you to make those calls. Otherwise, you will forget. You see, for example, this Joanna Marusiak, that's one of the clients that I shared a story with you. They ended up buying $850,000 home in Vienna, and so they are always getting follow-ups from me, and I will continue until they tell me to stop, right? So I cannot express this enough. You need to have some kind of reminder system. You see, I have 103 tasks that I need to complete. Okay. So that means I'm doing my job. I'm moving forward. I'm advancing forward. I'm creating my database. I am growing my database. on going back to the open house, we talked about turning off the lights, turning on the lights before the open house, and calling, texting people immediately, putting them in the drip campaign and following up with them. Now, what did I miss, Peter, as far as in open house procedure? Is there anything that you would add?
No, I think you've done a comprehensive job. I think the keys are, are engaging folks when in their house and trying to make them feel comfortable. As you said, there's a time for follow up and being persistent, and there's a time to build a relationship up front.
Mm-hmm. So I remember maybe last year or so, I had a couple speakers that I invited to talk at one of our meetings, and they were real estate agents, very powerful real estate agents from Falls Church. They built their business basically through open houses, and their system, like they do one extra step. Like before they hold an open house, they will spend several hours researching and looking at comparable homes. So once you do an open house in the normal inventory levels, not like where we're at today, like there's nothing, but if normal inventory levels, there are maybe 5 or 6 comparable homes. So you, for the most part, you're not going to know anything about that neighborhood before the open house. So you spend a few hours researching, and you notice, oh, this one townhouse had a pink bathroom or some green tiles, and you remember those things. You take notes, and when you are having conversation with the people at the open house, you can say, hey, have you guys looked at the one on 123 Main Street? Oh, which one is that? Oh, the one with the green tiles and pink bathroom. Oh, yeah. That was fun. Some funny color choices. And so that's a connection, and you become suddenly the local expert. Because people, if they come to your open house and they look at this particular townhouse, chances are they looked at those other ones. And if you have no clue about those other ones, you're kind of like, you just closed on this one particular property, and you don't project yourself as a expert of that neighborhood or that price range or that particular type of home. But if you just did your homework, you can have a better quality conversation. And if people don't like this house, again, like the idea is build rapport. I remember years ago, I was on the panel as an agent, as a rookie agent. I was asked to speak with agents in Kellum's Reston office. We had the largest real estate office, over 300 agents strong, and I was very happy and blessed because I became number one agent in that office, number one individual agent my second year in business. I did $350,000 in commissions. And so they asked me to speak about open houses. How do you do those open houses? We have so many agents who are struggling. And I really was thinking like, okay, well, how do I do them? And I thought that somehow my creativity, such as calling them and saying, hey, I have those offline properties. Can you give me a call? I thought that that's what was causing me to close business. Yet when I thought deeper, that wasn't. The people that I closed transactions were the ones that I was able to establish relationship during the open house in a very short period of time. It's not my clever voicemail. I still followed up with them. I still used all of them, but I have not closed anyone at the open house who I did not build rapport. Like if I could, and you only have it's really, I don't know, it's probably not that much of a science. It's more than it's art, like how people feel, how do you relate to them? Do they feel comfortable with you? And I think the very important thing is like my takeaways from what I've learned by doing open houses is, yes, assume everybody will have an agent. You should come with this kind of expectation that everybody who comes in the door has an agent or know of an agent, but very few of them will have signed by agency agreements. So for the lack of the better word, I can tell you about 60 to 70% of the business that I've closed through open houses, I stole, for the lack of the better word, I stole from other agents. And I stole it because they were not theirs, right? They didn't have exclusivity. They did not have anything signed, but they knew of an agent. They were not there. I actually had one family that came in with agent, and they walked out with agent, and really wife ran back and picked up my card and walked out of the door. I was like, well, this is weird. And so I followed up with them, and they said, hey, we've been working with this Redfin, and they're crazy. They send me new agent different time. I have no clue. They have clueless. Like, we are so done with it. Like, I said, do you guys have anything signed? They said, no, we don't have anything signed. Wonderful. Let's go look at some houses. And so that's kind of like, assume that they will have an agent, but it's a fair game. You go ahead and take it. Like, you're not doing anything unethical. You're not stealing. You're stealing from yourself, and you're robbing your family if you're not doing it. Like, if you're going to say, everybody who says, yeah, I have an agent, if you just stop there, I guess, like, just surrender your license now. Like, you're not going to make it, because everybody will say, yes, I have an agent. Like, if you really, like, if it's starting, oh, I'm a high integrity person. If someone tells me I have an agent, I'm never going to go after them. Maybe it's not career for you. You are not violating anything just because someone said they have an agent. Right? So it's all in. Everybody will have an agent. Peter, you want to add something?
Art, yeah, if I could just jump in for a minute. To me, it's kind of like a poker game, right? People are bluffing. What's the easy answer? Oh, of course I have an agent. Go away.
Yeah, no, you're right. Mm-hmm. This is the easiest way out. But so now the idea, the challenges for a lot of agents is like, how do you get open houses? Like, if you don't have a listing, like, how in the world are you going to get like, anyone has any idea? Catherine, how to get an opportunity to hold an open?
Maybe connect with another agent.
Okay. Sydney.
Would it be building on these relationships and this rapport that you've built to talk to people in the future that may want to sell their houses?
Sure, but but that's kind of like, you have to secure, like, chicken or an egg. Like, what comes first, right? Like how do you hold an open house if you don't have a listing? How do you get it? Because I didn't have a single listing. All the open houses that I've closed my first year in business, I didn't have a listing. As a newer licensees, you're going to find it extremely difficult to get listings. It's easier to get a buyer than a listing. So, Kelvin, what do you think?
I think probably just similar to what Sydney said, just continue growing your network of agents, and also just keep alert on Zillow, on other listing websites, and I think that with time and due diligence, your opportunity will arrive.
Yeah, or just do what Peter does. Like, if you look at Peter, he's a very successful entrepreneur, C-level executive, Navy pilot. I mean, he's coming to every training, any potential. Like, he's learning based. I think he learned enough to be a mega agent, yet he continues to learn. He continues to come and improve his. And when I see someone who's learning based, I was like, man, you're either learning based or ignorance based. So if you're ignorance based, like, I don't have much business with you. If you're learning based, I was like, I'm going to give you an opportunity, and if you deliver, I'm going to give you a next opportunity. So, like, why agents were giving me listings? Because they trusted me, because they knew I'm not going to screw it up. They're not going to have to feel bad in front of their sellers, and they knew that, I will appreciate that. And it's really not complex. It's really not. I think I just uh, I'm going to give you my secret, how I got listings. So I would go, I don't know, like I just came up with this. I would go to maybe Costco and buy like a box of cookies. So for Christmas they sell with chocolate. So sometimes I buy a box of chocolate, and I would go literally through the office and just give everybody candies or chocolates. Probably I do it once or twice a week. I just like, man, I love chocolate myself, but I want to share it with others. So I just go through the office and I don't cherry pick whom I'm going to give. I'm just give to everybody whom I meet. I go to one office, and it happens to be that for the most part, the top producing agents are the ones who are in the offices, right? They work from the office. So I give it to team leader, I give it to the agents, and everybody's laughing and having fun and having, Art again with his cookies. So I built myself, like I built those relationships with those agents. I wasn't really thinking at that moment about open houses, but I just like, man, I want to know all those people because I want to be able to ask for advice, and I would do that. And then when they send an email blast, hey, I need someone to hold an open house, and 10 agents respond, they have no clue what 9 of those agents are. They never showed up in the office. They never been at any type of training. They never done anything. They never brought me cookies. and here's Art, like this dude is like giving us cookies. He's smiling. He's happy. And like, I just stand out of the 10 people who replied, who want to get that opportunity. So I get this one opportunity, will over deliver. Same thing as Peter. I'll give a good feedback. I'll make sure the house is locked. I'll go 3 times around the house. I want to make sure there's no garbage that we left. I want to make sure this house looks better than it was before I got there. And when this is all sealed, closed, I send an email or text or whatever way the listing agent wants to communicate and tell, I had 15 showings, feedback is XYZ. Thank you for opportunity. Let me know if you need help next weekend, right? And agents, it's just simple as that, right? You just give me one opportunity. Listing agents, they don't do open houses. Like if you seasoned agent, you normally don't sit. Some do, but it's very rare. Like if you do other activities to generate business, because again, open houses for the most part will attract buyers. So you just do what Peter does. You show up, you be nice, and you deliver. I can't tell you how many times I've given open houses to agents in our office. I get a phone call, the doors were left open, the lights are on, we've been out of town, we came back 3 days later. I assume all the lights were on for 3 days and doors were unlocked. And then I call the agent starts like almost fighting me back or being very, not going to share the names or anything, but it just happened way too many times. And so for me, it's like, my gosh, I'm not doing this to really, it does not benefit me to hold this open house. It's an opportunity for someone else. So you better build those good relationships with agents who have business in the office, and they will need your help. They might not need you now because inventory is low. They want to do open houses themselves. But the moment they get two more listings, you can only hold one open at one time. So they're going to give it to you, right? Just be nice, be learning based, show up, and no cookies at this time. But with a vaccine, I think we soon might be in the position where you can come and give wrapped candies to other agents in the office. Any questions?
Art, if I could just add a couple of things. So the other folks on the call may have heard about previewing houses. So that there was an open house, in this case on Saturday and Sunday. Art was kind enough to let me do the one on Sunday. I had a little bit of time on Saturday, so I stopped by the house during the open house. just so I could see the property, get familiar with the neighborhood, and that helps a little bit. It saves you some time when you're scrambling to get set up for your own open house. And then the other thing that I like to do, it was a townhouse neighborhood. This happened to be an end unit. So I knocked on the next door neighbor's door before the open house, and I introduced myself, told them why I was there. And I said, so there'll be some traffic here. If anybody's interfering with you or blocking your driveway, please come over and let me know so we can deal with it immediately. And excuse me, and that really surprised them. And they were very precise. I left them my card. Who knows if anything will come out of it? But I now have an address and a name, and I send them a follow-up letter. And who knows? But
That's very smart. Is it the one on the right? Like the first?
As you're looking at the house, the one on the right, yes.
Yeah, because there's nothing on the left. Okay, so that lady her name is probably Rhoda.
Yeah.
And so let me give you more intel. I talked to her because she called off my sign, and her mom is dating a guy called, okay, I'm giving too much information. But so her mom has a boyfriend, and that boyfriend actually would love to buy the house next door because of Rhoda. She's from Venezuela, I think, or so. No, from Asian, right?
We didn't get into it, but yeah.
Yeah. So I forget, Cambodia, maybe. I don't know. Whatever. So they were like. The interesting part was that she might not be moving, but she knows her mom's boyfriend is looking maybe in Reston, right? Like he has a house to sell. So that's really smart, Peter, that you've done. And you want to stay in touch. You want to kind of, drip on them. And one other thing that I forget to mention, when you are doing those open houses, and I'm glad that Peter reminded me by just sharing that he door knocked, saying, hey, if someone blocks your driveway, a lot of agents, what they do with directionals, they stick them in the ground and they run, and they run fast, from someone's yard. Where what you should be doing is you knock on the door and you say, hey, this is Art, Kelwam's Realty. I'll be holding an open house. Do you guys mind if I put a directional sign on the yard? I'll promise I'll take it off in 4 hours from. Are you going to be shocked how well it's going to be received? And you'll be the first one in their lifetime who asked permission and for such a thing. Like I'm sure Peter's call was the first one, or door knock was the first one she ever received of anyone really coming, like caring about and asking, hey, if you need anything, just let me know. I'm next door. And so if the positioning of the directional signs is a huge opportunity to door knock and say, hey, I want to put it on the corner. I apologize if you're not okay with that, I'll put it on someone else's lot. And if they're not home, you just write a sticky note and you attach your business card. Say, hey, I door knocked. I knocked on your door. I wanted to ask your permission to put the sign. And if it's okay, just leave it. I'll take it off. If it's not, give me a call. I'll come and retrieve it. Right. So like you really killing two birds with one stone. You potentially getting identifying future sellers. But again, it's only going to work if you met them, if you had a good conversation and you go back and you create a file for them and schedule follow-up, then it's really dynamite. Like some of them will be selling in a year or 2 or 3, and you will have an opportunity to be with them as long as you stay in touch. Just giving business card is wonderful because it's really difficult to segue in capturing their information, but the address, right? So if you're planning on doing some mailings like that could be powerful as well, right? The only I think that the challenge, what I'm seeing is, again, if we don't, how do you segue from a nice guy who came really just from contribution and like, hey, I'm putting directional sign, here's my business card. So it becomes very difficult to turn into this sleazy like salesperson, like, by the way, what's your email address? What's your phone number? Because you like, you want to do this, but at the same time, you don't want to do it. So how do you like master this conversation where it becomes value to them, to give them their email? And sometimes it would be, hey, well, thank you so much for allowing me to put my directional sign. I really appreciate it. Now, I do send monthly market updates about real estate market, and a lot of people have been requesting to be added to that list. Would you be interested also in getting that market updates once a month? And you can just click with one click to unsubscribe if you don't like it. For the most part, people will say, yeah, sure, no problem. It's peter@gmail.com, right? And that's kind of like an easy segue into capturing information. And if they say, no, I'm getting enough spam, I said, no problem. I understand. I'm the same way. And I get this all the time, right? So just give their business card and thank them. All right, it's 10:30. Thank you, everyone. And what is this? Is a question? Is it difficult to hold open houses? Yeah, in the beginning, CDC kind of like said, don't do this, don't do that. Yet it never stopped in Virginia. We were never like shut down, maybe like couple of weeks out of, but now it seems like everything is back to normal. The only challenge is that we have no inventory, really difficult. You really need to work hard with building rapport with the listing agents. All right, I'll see you guys at 11. If you can join the team meeting, thank you.
Thank you.
Question, is the team meeting the same link?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Same way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.